Thanks for staying with us. Yes, in the kitchen this morning is Chef Okpe. And it seems to be, I think this week we've been having a lot of French toast.
So I
made,
heard.
you know, in, I would say in our own chef's signature style. And I guess you're bringing your own kind of flavor to the show today. And I'm seeing quite a lot of delicious flavors here. It's going to be quite an wholesome marriage and experience this morning because I'm seeing cinnamon, I see bacon. You know what? Let's run through the recipe, the ingredients for our recipe this morning.
Okay, so we have here sourdough. Let's first start with French toast. French toast is known to be like a sweet dish.
Right.
But every chef has a way of making it, whether sweet, whether savory, whether in between sweet and savory. So today we're going to be having both sweet and savory. That is why the choice of bread today is sourdough.
Sourdough, what makes this different from our regular bread?
So it's used, this does not use yeast at all.
Okay.
So you ferment it, and it takes like 7 days before it's ready to use, before you bake it. So it has this sour note to it. The closest to this that we have
the wheat bread
is, I don't know. I know Indomie generation might not know, but there's this bread called Senegal bread.
Oh, that dry bread.
Exactly. So that's the closest to the sourdough. So the reason is because
I didn't like that bread at all.
You're going to like it today because that's why I'm using it for something sweet and savory. Because the notes are not particularly sweet, so we have to infuse a lot of things in it.
Okay, so the guest is bringing that savory.
The savory and the sour notes.
And the sour note.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. So please go ahead.
Not a problem. So we have our bread.
Okay.
We are using sourdough, like I said, but you can opt for baguette. It's very close. It's just baguette uses yeast. This doesn't.
For Agigi bread?
You can, but you can. It's better to use wheat bread because then again we're trying to make it savory, not too sweet. In between sweet and savory. Yes, please. So we have here our sourdough. We're going to soak it in something called creme anglaise. English cream.
What's the creme anglaise?
English cream. It is the base for most ice cream you are having. That's the base for it. So it's like custard, a very light custard, not the custard we know. I'm talking French custard that you make yourself from the scratch. So you are going to, we're going to plaster our sauce. Now this is zobo berry sauce.
Okay, so talk to us about that invention. Because
so zobo berry sauce, I don't know if don't worry, you'll have a taste later.
I can't wait.
So you would reduce your zobo. You can just buy a store-bought zobo, or if you prefer, you can make your zobo. The idea is to reduce it, make it very, very low. On a very low heat. Then you infuse your berries.
You have to cook it for a really long time till most of the water has been, taken out of it.
Yeah, that's fine. Then you infuse your berries in it.
Okay, what kind of berries? Strawberries, blueberries?
For this, we used strawberries and blueberries, actually. So you cook it for a long period of time on very low heat. In the zobo. That way, everything marries together. And you had some form of acidity, so it's not too sweet.
Like
that's lemon. Yes, we have lemon here. So that's about it.
No sugar?
You do use sugar. That's why I said store-bought zobo. With store-bought zobo, it's already sweet, so you don't need any extra sweetness. You just cook it down, and you're good to go.
So it's a combination of sweets and sour. Because blueberries are not exactly sweet, but they're very sour.
They aren't actually. Yeah, they aren't. So then we plaster it together. That's why I cut it into very thin loaves. We'll plaster it together, we put it together, soak it in our French cream, the creme anglaise that I mentioned earlier. Then we toast it. After toasting it, we then make our scrambled eggs. That's why we have eggs over here. Now, this is not the conventional Nigerian scrambled eggs. We had milk into this. We had milk. That's why it has this luscious feel. Then we have bacon, which we would slow cook. So it's crispy, and then we just melt everything together.
Now, I see cinnamon in our milk over here. Talk to us about that.
Okay, the best and fastest thing to do is just to add cinnamon, your powdered cinnamon into this. But I can be extra. So I use the cinnamon stick. This has been in it since last night, so it's sort of infusing in it.
So it's going to, you know, soak in all that flavor from the cinnamon by leaving it overnight before you use them.
So that's what's going now, French cream.
All right, fantastic. I mean, I can't wait for you to begin because it's a lot of work.
It is.
It is a lot of work. I can't wait to also taste the zobo berry sauce. Also, I think I'm very fascinated about the cream glaze.
Cream and glaze.
Cream and glaze.
Yes, please.
Right. I would like you to even talk to us about, you know, the how to make it.
Okay, that's right.
So that because I mean, not everyone knows how to. I don't know how to make it. So kindly let us know how you're making our cream and glaze, guys. If you're just joining us, with me in the kitchen is Chef Okpe, and this morning she's making her own signature style French toast. Trust me, there's a lot of love going into this recipe. And you know why? I'm going to tell you why I said there's a lot of love going into this morning's recipe, guys. Because, I mean, it's a combination of sweet, savory, and sour. And there's a lot of exoticness going into this recipe. It's too much for me. Even I cannot contain myself because I can't wait. But we're going to begin. You know, what are we starting with?
Okay, so we'll be starting with the creme anglaise. We would get our, although I would love to do this off the camera because it can be a little bit messy. Okay. We need egg yolks, about 6 egg yolks. Okay. We'll tamper it with some sugar and just whisk it a little bit. Okay. Meanwhile, we'll warm up some milk just to simmer. It shouldn't boil because if it boils, it curdles together and then it gives it this not pleasant.
It feels like we're about to have a science experiment here, but this time it's food that we're going to be experimenting with. I can't wait to see how this all comes together. We are here with Chef Okpe, and she is making her signature style French toast. Guys, I'll say for a fact that there's so much going on here in the kitchen. It's a wholesome experience. French toast. And we have our bread that's been soaked up in our
cream and glaze.
Cream and glaze. Now let's talk about this, you know, fascinating recipe here, because I feel like it's a recipe on its own. Cream and glaze. How do we make it? What was used in making it? And let's also talk about the other ingredients and where you're at right now. So
I'm just going to start with the cream and glaze. The first thing you need for your cream and glaze is their egg yolks. So egg yolks sort of give this luscious, luxurious feel to the cream. This is it here. We made it on set here. So you will have to first of all whisk some of your sugar. Everything has measurements. That's one thing about French cuisine. Everything is measured. You can't just mix and whip things together. The recipe you would use the amount of egg yolks the recipe calls for. Add some sugar and whisk it together. That gives you what they call sabayon, but let's not bore ourselves with that. You see that milk I was telling you about? I told you guys
that she was going to take us on a wholesome journey. So, I mean, I'm on this ride. Let's go.
So we get to the milk I was telling you about that we infused in cinnamon and vanilla. You just eat it up a bit to simmer.
So vanilla flavor with a bit of cinnamon in your egg yolk.
Yeah, you add the rest of the sugar to the milk. So that dissolves.
So this sugar, do you add water to it?
No.
Okay.
Just the milk, part of the sugar, the cinnamon, the vanilla, just allow it simmer a little bit.
And then?
And then tamper some. When I say tamper, what I mean is pour some of the milk into that egg yolk. That's so that the temperature, you know, our egg yolks, they are cold. The milk is warm. So if you just pour it inside, it gives you something like this. You're just going to end up with scrambled eggs. Just get ready to eat scrambled eggs. So you have
to ensure that your milk is warm. Cold.
The milk should be warm. The egg yolks are cold. Then you tamper the milk. You pour some of the milk into the yolk. Whisk it together before pouring all of the egg yolk and milk into
the pan.
Then just allow it simmer for a bit and you're good to go.
So what consistency should we be looking out for? This, right?
Yes, please. This This is, so there are two types of cream. This is creme anglaise, the very light one.
Okay.
Then there's the creme patisserie, that's the custardy one.
Oh,
that's
thicker.
the one, that's thicker.
Okay.
This is just a very light
Can you
cream.
also use the thicker one for your French toast?
Well, if you're using it as a sauce, yes. But if you're using it to soak up the bread, I think you're good with creme anglaise.
Creme anglaise.
Yes,
okay.
Please.
You see, we have just gone to school right here. Right here in this kitchen with Chef Okpa. She's quite a fantastic teacher. Wouldn't you say so? Well, I think so myself. Okay, so let's talk about the other ingredients for our French toast this morning. So now that we are done with our creme anglaise and we have our bread soaking in it, you did something with the bread. You want to talk to us about that?
Yes, please. So I sort of did a sandwich kind of thing, but it is sweet. When people hear sandwich, they think just, you know, chicken, sauce, and all of that, but you could sandwich something sweet. Yeah. So on one side of the bread, I put peanut butter. Right. Then the other side, we added the zobo berry sauce.
You know, it's actually giving PBJ.
PBJ, yeah.
Yeah, peanut butter jelly,
yes,
sandwich.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
The only difference here is we're using our zobo cherry sauce instead of the jam. And then talking about jams, do they still sell?
They do.
Oh, I haven't seen one in a really long time. I've never been a fan of it, but then I haven't seen any. And isn't it interesting how we were introduced to it as kids, but now, what is the spread that's very common with kids in these days?
I think peanut
butter, because my kids love peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
They love peanut butter. They can't go a day without having their bread and peanut butter. Okay, so then we already have our bacon, which has already been rendered.
So what I mean by rendering is just...
terminologies that you use. Okay.
So what I mean by rendering is just so you take a cold pan, just put your bacon in it. I cut mine in bits.
There was no oil in it,
no, because it has a lot of fat. A lot of oil. And as a matter of fact, we have some of the oil in here. And I'm just going to, it's part of what I'm going to be using to toast our bread. So
now that we have soaked this bread, because it's been in this creme anglaise for quite a long time.
Yes,
when do we begin, you know, frying it up, or what's next?
We are doing that right away. So I just had to get the scrambled eggs out of the way. Okay. So that we can start.
I see that the eggs are not properly cooked.
Okay, so when I was talking earlier, I said we're not doing the conventional scrambled eggs. Okay. That's because for this recipe, we're using the normal eggs, and then we add milk to it and whisk it together, then cook it slowly in butter. If you could see, I was taking it off the heat back into the heat of the heat. That's because it's not supposed to curdle up too much.
It's not supposed to
have
together.
This look.
Sort of creamy.
It's sort of creamy.
Still moisty. Yes, okay.
So like I
love it. So what are we doing now?
So we're going to the toast.
Okay. So time to, what do you call that? What you're about to do? Okay,
so I'm about to toast the bread.
Okay, toast the bread.
Yes.
So you can use a pan.
You can use a pan.
You can use a skillet.
Exactly.
Okay.
So our pan is hot enough. So that's why I'm taking it off the heat, because it is actually very hot.
All right.
And I might have to reduce this heat.
Is there a required number of time that your bread should be soaked in the creme anglaise?
Okay.
Or?
So I am using this sourdough, like I said. It takes time for the cream to go into it. If you're using normal slice, but you just dip it and toast it. Dip and toast.
Okay.
But for this one, it's not going to work at all.
And you need all of that flavor to be infused properly into the bread. I see that. I see that. Great stuff happening here in the kitchen, people. You can tell that I'm in all right. Well, I think you should be as well. Well, Chef Okpe is taking us on an amazing culinary experience right here in the kitchen. She's making her own signature styled French toast. Right. It's got a lot of preparations, so it takes a lot of preparations to get this done. It's not your regular French toast. A lot of ingredients has gone into, and it's still going into this morning's recipe. So now that we have our oil already in a hot pan, and then we already have so we're making use of a sourdough. Sourdoughs are a different kind of bread. It's not your conventional kind of bread.
Yes,
it's very different.
It isn't.
It's very hard, but then again, you can also use your regular bread. That's the ones that, you know, we're very used to. Right.
Yes.
So we have our peanut butter spread on one side of the bread, and then we have our zobo cherry sauce on the other side of the bread. And if you're wondering how she made the zobo cherry sauce, you want to take us through that again? Just for those just joining in and are curious.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, you know what? You tell us about that recipe later on. But right now, we are already toasting our bread, and we're just going to wait for that to come together.
Gemma, would you have a robot at home or something helping with the chores?
Or even helping with the band?
No. I'd like to leave the
human
intelligence out of the music. We have enough of that. But for the chores, yes. Yes.
Okay. You can tell that Gemma is not a chore person. She's like, yeah, definitely. Welcome to the kitchen, Gemma. Chef Okpe has made for you this morning her own signature style French toast. And quickly tell us the magic you have created here while Gemma has a taste of it with the zobo cherry sauce.
Zobo berry sauce.
Zobo
berry sauce.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
So tell us what you have in here.
Okay, so we have the French toast.
So please enjoy, Gemma. So while you are, you know, savoring all the flavors in your mouth, she's taking us through everything she put together.
Yes. Okay. So we have a sweet savory breakfast.
Okay.
Because
sweet
and savory. Because I don't think a lot of people would want something just sweet for breakfast. That's why the choice of bread was sourdough. Sourdough is known to have that tang and, you know, not so much sugar.
Right.
So we have the berry sauce. This is quite sweet. This is where most of the sweetness is coming from. This berry sauce.
But if it's a berry, isn't there something of a tang too?
Tang also, but it's going to be balanced. Trust me.
Okay.
That's why we have scrambled eggs and some bacon to pair.
That's a marriage.
So you should just have everything together.
It's a marriage made in heaven in your mouth, because everything just comes together.
This is
that looks good.
Bacon. And that is the scrambled egg.
This feels like a fine dining experience right here.
It certainly sounds.
All right, Gemma.
Yeah.
I'm shy.
All right. Wonderful, lovely. It's been a wonderful show. This one is from Miles. This is Miles. We're signing out. It's been a wonderful week. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.
What do you think? Bye-bye.